Hello, everyone. I'm the Bodacious Cowboy with my co-host, Christy Knichel. Are you ready for a special edition of the Storytelling Chronicles? We are. Let's go.
Look out! Pop, pop, it's showtime. 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 Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Gone time. Oh, they don't know. Gone time. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. Showed up. I'm wearing Cuban links. Yeah. Designer mix. Yeah. Inglewood's finest shoes. Whoop, whoop. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Known to give the color red the blues.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Storytelling Chronicles, empowering women into logistics. It is July 29th. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I did. How about yourself, Christy?
Oh, it was awesome. It was just hanging out by the pool this weekend, which was cool. Lucky
you. I had to work a little bit on Saturday and Sunday, but this is the logistics, 24/7, 365. You know the.
Hey, I still did too. I do it outside, sometimes side pool.
I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So why don't you tell everybody about the guest we have today, and then I will bring her on.
Awesome. So our guest today is Lina Acosta. Super excited to bring her on. I've met her once. We've been in a lot of rooms together, never really had the conversation. She's part owner of GLT Logistics. She is a nonstop learner, an entrepreneur, economics and international business professional, and marketing leader. Originally from Colombia, Lina and her partners have built GLT Logistics, an American company with almost 370 employees spread between the United States and Colombia, and a remarkable growth of 241% between 2018 and 2023. Lina created the marketing department at GLT and is the chief marketing officer. Under Lina's leadership, the marketing department has generated significant brand awareness for the company. Lina is also proud of the 55% of GLT's employees that are women, and the same percentage of women hold leadership positions, from team leaders to Lina herself. She has not only established her own brand, but also consolidated GLT's brand through organic growth on platforms like LinkedIn. Lina's passion for education led her to create the educational program Logistics Lessons, which welcomes industry professionals and has attracted guests from important companies in the sector. Her contributions and expertise has been recognized as she's participated as a speaker in the 2023 and 22 Accelerate conferences hosted by Women in Trucking, and it was honored as a top woman to watch in 2023. And also, Lina is valued as a valued member of the Board of Directors of Transportation Marketing and Sales Association, also known as TMSA. So let us bring her on and talk with her.
Not too shabby. Unbelievable. Hey
guys.
Yeah.
Good, Jeff. How are you guys? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're super excited to bring you on and talk with you today.
Yeah,
yes,
thanks
finally, Christy.
Yeah.
Thanks for finding the time. Oh my God, you're so busy to join us for an hour today. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Of course, it's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to start off by just the fact that I've been watching you for a while. Obviously, being on LinkedIn, we're in a lot of the same circles, so to speak, because I feel like if you're talking to some people, like, you tend to stay in that same circle for whatever reason. But you've just been doing quite a bit of stuff out there in the industry and really making a name for yourself, which is awesome. I think it's so important, especially since you're part owner of a company, and being a woman, to get your voice out there heard. And there's just so many different skill sets that a woman, we feel, bring to the table in regards to that. I think one of the things that some CEOs or company owners lack are putting themselves out there and really building that brand, which is exactly what you're doing at GLT. So do you want to talk to us a little bit about your history? Like, how'd you get into logistics? How did you become part owner of the company? And just give the audience some history of how you got to where you're at.
Of course. So we'll start by saying that I'm originally from Colombia, South America. I came to Miami 18 years ago. Almost 18 years. So I came here to do my internship in a freight forwarding business. I did my internship for about a year and a half or a year, yes. And then I co-created my own company, former company of GLT. Its name was 1A Intermodal. Then 1A Intermodal was merged with GLT back in 2017. And after that, GLT Logistics was created after that merger. So yeah, before that merger, I was leading the admin department at 1A Intermodal. And after the merger, I created our marketing department from scratch. So yeah, that's pretty much about my journey. Now I live in Miami. I live by myself with my dog. I'm divorced. What else? Yeah, that's kind of everything about myself. And yeah, I'm kind of the between my partners and I'm the one who is like speaking in public because they don't like to do that. And well, maybe a couple of them do that sometimes, but yeah, I'm the one who is like out there talking about GLT and about what we have done so far.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at least to have a little bit in common with Christy, being that you're both on the intermodal side. So I'm really surprised they haven't spoken more often.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen her out there quite a bit more recently. And well, I guess talk a little bit about GLT for a minute, because you said you came from an intermodal company that merged.
Well, the name was 1A Intermodal. That was the name of the company, but it was a 3PL as GLT is right now.
Okay.
And what we offer are like different services, like LTL. That's our bread and butter. We also offer FTL, heavy hauling, drayage, and we cover United States, Canada, and Mexico as well. Yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, nice. So when you merged your intermodal business with GLT, was that first created in Colombia, and then as you expanded, you came into the United States, or vice versa?
We created, like, both companies, 1A Intermodal and GLT were created here in the United States. We have something in common between the owners of GLT Logistics now, is that we are all Colombians. We came here to do our internship in a freight forwarding business, and we met here. Well, some of them met before in the universities in Colombia, but we met again here in Miami, and we were doing pretty much the same thing in both companies. And then we decided to merge, like, as a way to join forces and to find some synergies between us. And it has been working very, very well after that. At the beginning, it was very difficult, though. It was a mess, like the whole transition, like the first couple of years. It was very challenging for many reasons, but now we can say it was the right decision.
Gotcha. So when you formed this new business, GLT, let's go back to the beginning. Like, you said that you came over here to learn and study and all of this. So were some of your fellow students that were in class with you and everything, did they join GLT? How did that form? Or did you bring some people in from Colombia to start everything up brand new? And then what were some of the obstacles and challenges, especially for you being a woman-owned business? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, what I can tell you about my story at 1A Intermodal at the time when we created 1A Intermodal. No, we didn't have anyone from Colombia that I brought from my university, because I was living now in Miami, and that was my last year at the university. So I didn't have the opportunity to go back and then come back. No, I stayed here. So the people we hired were people from here, and we started our journey as an entrepreneurs here. from scratch, right? And yeah, one of the challenges or I faced was the language is one of them. Not being 100% bilingual is a challenge. So yeah, because of course, if you speak in Spanish, you are more fluent, and yeah, you have more things to talk about because also you share a cultural background with everybody there. But here, you have to kind of be learning and practicing and learning about the culture here. So you kind of get those opportunities to engage with customers, with vendors, with your network. So I think that's one of the challenges I face. But other than that, I have enjoyed the journey so much. I think it has been full of opportunities, and I haven't seen that as a difficult thing to do. It hasn't been a difficult journey for me, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's good to hear. I mean, and the other thing I want to ask you about too is when that started, since we're talking about women, how many women were like merging together initially? And can you talk a little bit? I know I mentioned 55% of your employees today, 370 of them. So how many initially were women, and how did you continue to get more women in the company?
Well, between the owners, I'm the only woman. So that's, yeah, we are 6 owners and one woman. But in our team, in general, GLT, we are 370 people, like around that number. I don't have the exact number as today. But yeah, the majority of our positions are filled by women right now. So that's good. And regarding the leadership positions, is the same percentage. 55% out of the leadership positions are filled by women. But it hasn't been planned. It has been something that came generally. Because what I mean by that is that we didn't have any strategy around that or anything. And I remember maybe 5 years ago when I was going through a particular situation in my life, that I started to feel this urge to share my experience with other women, my learnings and everything. And I started to look for associations like Women in Trucking to kind of join them in their purpose and everything. And at that time, I remember kind of thinking, I think we have a lot of women at GLT. So I asked our HR department, which is called our Talent Experience Department, how many women we had at that time. That was like 5 years ago. And they told me that we were a lot of women. At that time, we were 60% women. So I realized that, and I think nobody else had realized that we had more women than men. And I think the reason for that is that our approach has been to be very honest in our recruiting process. We are not biased. We don't have any stereotypes to follow. So I think that's the base of everything. And that's why we have so many women right now. But of course, as our company has been growing, we have been strengthening our initiatives towards supporting our people. So we have initiatives for recognition, for mental health, for for women empowerment. Like for instance, last year I created a GLT Women Empowerment course. It was a course of 6 sessions, and I had around 40 women from GLT joining my course. So we do things like that to keep supporting women, and also our team in general. We don't want to leave men behind either.
Right.
So,
I think we talk about that quite a bit because I talk about same thing here. We have a lot of women, but a man runs my company. He's my COO. Like there are a lot of good men out there too, but it's also
Yes.
about being diverse and bringing more women into there. So I have a follow-up question to what you just talked about, but having diverse leadership team, how does that impact the culture and the success of GLT, would you say?
Well, it has had a great impact. A lot of the initiatives that we have had at GLT are the result of having a diverse team. So, for instance, we were pioneers of our offshore or nearshore team that we have in Colombia. So we have like our team is in Colombia and United States, and a lot of people from our team are in Colombia, and we were pioneers in that because now you see that is a trend with companies like HubTech that they offer nearshore services or solutions for a company to have their team in Colombia. Well, that's kind of new, but we started that like 16 years ago.
Wow.
We started to have our team there. It was a hybrid between remote and in person or in an office. So that wouldn't have been possible if we didn't have a diverse team coming up with those ideas.
Right.
Or another example is the different initiatives we have around recognition. I'm very proud to say that we have a lot of things in our company that are very advanced compared to what other companies offer in the logistics industry. So, for instance, in the recognition area, we have a Rockstar program. And inside this program, we have many ways to recognize our people. One of them is to take them to a trip every year, usually is to Cancun. But this year, since we didn't meet our goals last year, we went to Santa Marta. That's a city on the coast of Colombia, which shouldn't, I mean, we weren't supposed to have that trip because we didn't meet our goals, but at the end, we ended up going because we didn't want to, like, we still wanted to recognize the persons who met their KPIs last year, right? So those, and we normally we bring like 70 people to those trips.
Wow.
And I know some business owners could say that's very expensive, and maybe they think that won't impact their bottom line at the end. But in our case, we think it has a great impact on our people and therefore in our bottom line, right?
Yeah.
And again, those initiatives are the result of having a diverse team that have different perspectives, different type of ideas, innovative ideas. So yeah, again, that's a great approach if you have a diverse team.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and you know what's really great about that? You're reinvesting into your employees, which is key.
Yeah,
right?
That's key.
Because without doing that, they're not going to have loyalty to you. So it's more of a corporate profit sharing that you share with them. You take like 1% or 2% out of your profits and reinvest into your people, and saying if you hit Y, we're going to take you to X. Okay, so it gives them a goal and objective to meet. And I worked for one of those type of companies that did have that. It had an own incentive for yourself, and then you had a corporate level incentive as well. So you had many different ones. And I think that's great. I think that is fantastic, and that a lot of other corporations should do that. Now, there's one thing I want to go back to, which is very important that you brought up, is that you created empowerment courses for your women. Let's go back to that a little bit and talk about what do the courses entail, and what does it train or help women who want to level up, who wants to get that empowerment?
Yes, what I included with the help of our talent experience team was different topics. Like one of them is the importance of self-confidence. That was the very first, and it's one of the main topics I share whenever I'm talking to women.
Mhm.
That's a very important part for you to focus on. Also, visualization, like being able to come up with the conclusions about what you really want to do in life, because a lot of people go on autopilot and they don't even know what they want to do, right? So it's very important to know your end goals in your life.
Correct.
So after that, we went through a session of planning, how to plan, how to come up with a plan and really make those dreams come true.
Mhm.
And also we had another session about how to grow in a professional environment, how to grow inside GLT or in your professional life in general. So I gave them like practical tips about how you can achieve that. So that's kind of the summary of what we covered in the Empower Women course.
Which I
Awesome.
think is, yeah, I think that that's great. I think you should talk about that more often, because
Yeah.
even though I'm a woman-owned company and I mentor women and I'm trying to inspire and do those things, obviously I talk with my team in here, but we don't have anything specific like that, which I think is important, because I think the number one thing that most women do suffer from is the lack of confidence,
Yeah.
Yes.
period.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, if you don't have
Oh
lack of
yeah.
confidence, you're not going to speak out. You're not going to. I just did a podcast last week where I talked about how the very first big speech I ever gave, like I was terrified, first of all, but then all these women were like, my story's just like yours. And it's almost like
Oh yeah.
they don't want to talk about it, or they feel like you can't talk about it. And I throw it all out there.
I
Boom.
know.
I think
It
it's
happens to me too. Oh
yeah.
yeah. And the
Yeah.
reason why I included that is because I experienced that myself, and I have been working on my self-confidence for maybe 5 or 6 years already, and it's a never-ending process.
Mhm.
But of course, when you focus on that, you get better at that, and that's one of the things I'm urged to share with women. And actually, one of the presentations I did for the Women in Trucking conference was about self-confidence, the importance of self-confidence, and I really see the need in women to learn about those things.
Right. And I
So
think
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and I was gonna say the most important thing too is like when you talk about it and you share it with the women, then they feel more open to sharing their struggles and continuing to work on themselves. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I absolutely love that you do that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And you know what? A follow up to that is that that should also be spoken about to men as well. So they have a really good understanding, that women are different than men, of course, right? That they need to be treated equal. And I say that across the board because I was very lucky. I had a lot of good women that worked for me when I was on the corporate level, and they did fantastic. I mean, some really fantastic work. And I always treated them as equal. I didn't give them less because they were women and men more because they were men. I treated them as equal as far as their skill level and what they were hired to do and whether or not they could do the job, whether they were a man or a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm a huge advocate for empowering women into logistics, because there's a place for them. There's a need for them across the board, whether it's in trucking, logistics, maritime, supply chain, you name it out there. There's still a low percentage compared to men. And then also when you look at the C-level positions that are out there, it's really small. It's very, very small compared to C-level people who are men compared to women out there. So I definitely get it, but more men's got to get involved in it. That's why I'm doing it in hopes that I can get more guys on board with it. And I've seen it, and there are a few that are doing it now, and we just need more of that.
Yeah, it's important that men are a part of this and understand the challenges and what they can do to help women. I mean, I guess speaking of that too, like I'm assuming the men within your company are supportive of the women within the company. But speaking of that too, like, can you talk about, were there any challenges that you faced as a woman, like coming up through the ranks and doing what you're doing today? did you feel that you had, whether it's within your own company or just within the industry in general?
Actually, my main challenge was my own limitations. I can say that without a doubt. Um, my main challenge was my lack of self-confidence, and thankfully, I identified that when I was going through a difficult time in my life, like 5 or 6 years ago, and I started working on that, as I was telling you, and that made a whole difference for me. Because other than that, um, and my personality is to focus my energy in whatever I can control. So I try to not get things personal. I try to, when things happen to me or that are not like the ideal things to happen, I try to not focus on that again. Like I focus my energy in whatever I can control. So I really don't remember any situation or anything that was when I was maybe a victim or the society or anything, but maybe because that's the way I am. I don't pay attention to those things and I move on and I focus on on learning whatever I need to learn to get better, on like working on my mindset, things that I can control. Because and that's my main message for women. Please focus on having the accountability to have control over your life instead of trying to feel like a victim of life, because that won't help you. If you focus your energies in growing, in understanding the difficult situation, because every difficult situation brings an opportunity for you to grow. If you focus on that, then you will learn a lot of things and you will get better and you will thrive for sure. So that's my main advice for women. And
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I talk a lot about some of the challenges I had, but to be quite honest, a lot of what I did was just continue to push forward, which is exactly what you're talking about too, and not just allowing it to make you crumble or leave the industry or, poor me, like hit it head on and continue to just go forward and do your thing. Even when you didn't, or like I would say myself, even feel so confident in some of the things that I was doing. I was just telling myself again, I will continue to get there and I'll work on it. And I might feel that way, but it was just push forward, figure it out. You got this.
That's right. Yeah. And I remember when I was first starting to get out there in trade shows and everything. And for me, I used to see a lot of men and a lot of Americans, right? And at that time, it was hard for me. And in some situations, I felt like maybe inferior, right? So I started questioning myself, like, is this really something about them, like, or is about me? And at the end, I can say that it was about me, because people are nice, like men are great, and Americans are great. Is if you think you are like a valuable person and you speak to them without any fears or something, then you will have a good outcome out of those relationships. So I started shifting the way I was thinking, and the reality is that men are welcoming in this industry, and you just have to get rid of your own limitations. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to take a break real quick to go to our sponsors and thank them for being a great sponsor for this mission that we're on. So we'll be right back.
Yes, absolutely.
We're going to start with Thai Software.
Okie dokie.
So Thai Software simplifies freight management for brokers, offering an all-in-one platform for quoting, booking, and tracking shipments. Learn more at thaisoftware.com.
Let's go.
Brokering, success demands a battle-ready strategy. Thai TMS equips brokers with the ultimate battle station for conquering a tough market. With Thai, brokers gain access to a comprehensive platform where rate intelligence and quote history converge on a single screen. It's not just a page, it's a strategic command center designed to help brokers win. Ty equips your team with all the data they need to negotiate with confidence and allows them to communicate directly with carriers and customers from a simple control base. Revolutionize the way your brokers perform by giving them a competitive advantage with Ty TMS. For more info, scan the QR code or go to ty-software.com/battlestation.
Our next sponsor is Freight Validate, the ultimate identity and compliance verification system for the logistics industry. Freight Validate empowers shippers, brokers, carriers, and more to ensure compliance with regulations and mitigate fraud risk. With Freight Validate, you can easily verify entities' compliance status and identify potential threats within minutes. Don't risk your business with unverified carriers or brokers. Choose Freight Validate for peace of mind. Learn more at freightvalidate.com and start your verification process today.
Freight Validate, revolutionizing identity and compliance verification for shippers, brokers, and motor carriers with cutting-edge technology. Now, experience the power of voice-activated information retrieval with Siri and Alexa. Hey Siri, check Freight Validate.
Sure, what's the MC number?
387211.
The company Direct Expedite LLC is a broker and is freight validated. Company ownership has completed facial recognition verification. Basic company identity verification, risk assessment, and compliance info has been verified by freightvalidate.com. Please follow company protocols for additional safety and compliance vetting. For more information, please go to freightvalidate.com.
Freight Validate ensures complete access to our state-of-the-art identity and compliance verification system. Speed, accuracy, and savings all in one package. Don't miss out. Upgrade to Freight Validate today. Fraud starts with fraud. It ends with Freight Validate.
Last sponsor is TAFS. TAFS, which provides transportation factoring solutions to boost profits and increase cash flow for small and medium-sized companies. Contact TAFS at tafs.com to elevate your financial success.
Trucking excellence meets unparalleled service. Enjoy exclusive benefits like our fantastic tire discounts. Need cash fast? Try our 1-hour advances. Plus, we're here for you 365 days a year. Need loads? We have a pro dispatch service. This is why TAFS was recognized as the top factoring company in 2023. You'll benefit from strategic partnerships for enhanced operations. Access business loans and manage your finances easily with our client portal, F2 Fuel Card, and mobile app. At TAFS Factoring, we're more than just a factoring company. We're your partner in success. Contact us today to see how we can help your trucking business thrive.
Awesome, and we're back.
Yes, we are back with an awesome guest, I must add.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I wanted to go into this question. So building a company with as many employees we just talked about, for anyone who's just joined, over 300, maybe 370-ish, around that mark, across 2 countries is a significant achievement. So what were some of the key challenges you feel you faced in scaling GLT, and how did you address them?
One of the challenges, well, one that I can think of right now was that alignment between the owners. That was one of them at a specific point right after that merger. So we had to go through this phase of aligning the culture and everything. And of course, the first thing we needed to do was aligning the different way of thinking between the owners. So that took us maybe a year and a half or so.
So real quick, I'm going to stop you. So how did you do that? Because obviously with my company, we had multiple owners, my family, and it was very challenging. So I'm just curious how you were able to finally align everyone.
Well, we didn't have a specific method for that. We were like I don't know, going through trial and error. And time helped, of course, but you know what actually helped us a lot was the pandemic. When the pandemic hit, then we were kind of united against a threat, right? And that was like the last thing that helped us close that gap between the owners.
That's
That
great.
was, yeah, and that's one of the examples of how difficult situations could bring good outcomes too, like in this case. Yeah, so that's one of the challenging things we went through, and the other one is maybe try to cultivate a culture in 100% remote environment. And we have been going through different type of setups in our company. Like at the beginning, we were 100% in an office. Then we have a hybrid between remote and in-office work before the pandemic, because before the pandemic, we were already a hybrid company. And after the pandemic, we switched to 100% remote company, but it's still a challenge for us to get that alignment between everyone and to have a strong culture even after we went remote. And we have been able to do so. Thankfully, we have a very strong culture thanks to all these initiatives that we have. We have different events throughout the year, in like virtual and in person, like the Rockstar Tour that I was telling you about, and other initiatives as well. But it has been challenging, of course.
Yeah, I mean, just as a follow-up, it's interesting you say that because we were completely remote for 2 years. Then we came back to work, I want to say like 2 days, then 3 days. We have allowed our employees to do 2 days at home, but now we're moving into a new building with amenities and all that kind of stuff. So we have asked our staff to come back 4 days a week. They'll still get their flexible Fridays. So yeah, I find it interesting because I think there's some people that definitely can work remote and very productive, and other people, they struggle with it. And I mean, I would say like I prefer being in my office. I feel like I'm more focused here than I am at home, even though I do work from home typically 1 day a week on a Friday. But yeah, so just interesting, you know, how companies can be fully remote, and it takes a lot of discipline and all of that. Do you find that it's challenging to manage that way, or do you feel like everyone's kind of gotten in their place and they know the expectations?
Actually, the reason why we stayed like that was because we saw good results after we made that shift. We saw the productivity increase, and yeah, as like so far it has been working very well. But of course, you need to have a specific setup for that in order for that to work out, right? So we have a good messaging system, like internal messaging system. We have a good technology that supports working remotely, of course. We have this talent experience department that help us have a good environment and a strong culture even when working from home. So yeah, you need to have a backup for you in order for that to work.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I've been working remotely for 5 years now. 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. And you know, I feel myself that I'm more productive being by myself because I'm not getting pulled in all these directions, meetings after meetings after meetings, which ended up being meetings, and nothing was really done. There was no result to it, and it's just like, really? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
and the other thing too is that when you think about driving to work, and most people drive about an hour to work, I get an extra hour in the morning. I get an extra hour at night. I eat lunch at my desk, so I'm already putting in 11, 12-hour day.
That's right.
because I'm just rolling out of bed and hitting it, and I don't have to worry about buying new suits and all that other kind of stuff that goes with it, and gas and all that. But I love it. I miss working with people, but I work with a lot of people on LinkedIn too, and we have these conversations, and what I'm doing here, which I enjoy, tremendously. But it's really weird that you say that about working remotely, because it is for some, and some, they just can't live without that personal connection, that interaction.
And I'll say too, like, since we're all owners on here, I think, even when I'm in the office, there's times I shut my door because I do need more quietness to focus.
Yeah.
I do like being around the people for sure. I think it's definitely more important for operation people, specifically coming into the business and hearing and learning from that aspect, where there was a time a year ago or so where in my truckload department, almost everyone was new. And if everyone's working remote or even part of the week, like, they're really losing out on time of like hearing what's being said and how they're doing things. And
Great.
yeah, that's kind of where, I feel like sometimes it's been a struggle for some people coming into the industry.
Sure.
Yeah.
They don't have the mentorship. They don't have the coaching. They don't have the training. They don't have the disciplinarians. Everybody needs a disciplinarian in logistics. I don't care who the heck you are. As long as it's constructive criticism, everybody needs a little kick in the butt every once in a while to get them going and get them back on task. You don't get that when you're remote. You have to answer to yourself, and you're more accountable. Let's put it that way, because it's like a do or die situation. Either you do it or you're gonna die. I mean, there is no other choice, right?
And it seems like you built a culture, Lina, of like, there was a tragic situation going on in the country, and everyone came together. And I can tell you, I think most companies did that, but it's hard to hold on to that, because I almost feel like going through that was tough. And as a leader, I felt like I had to constantly be checking in with people and like, are you okay? And like, we were just all moving 100 miles an hour. So
that's right. The other thing that is important that I just remember is to have a good KPIs process in place that allows you to have people in different locations without you needing to be on top of them to see if they came to work or not. That's something that we have very well structured, and that helps a lot.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. Do you work 24/7, 365? You have night shift too?
We do have, but not everyone. We have a group of people that works after hours.
And how does that work for you? I mean, do you oversee them, or you have an operations person that oversees them? And how does that?
We have we have an operations people that person that oversees them. Yeah.
Interesting. And operationally, is that a woman who is in charge of that, or is it a man?
That I don't know. Actually, I will have to ask.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
370 people. I mean,
yeah, I can't tell.
This is one piece of advice I can give you now too, is you don't have to know everything either.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I have been learning about that, because you want to know everything, but I cannot be on top of everything.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, because when I started out, we'll go back 25 years ago, I thought that nobody else could do it better than me. And I couldn't delegate positions because I was so entrenched in everything. So I understand that it's very, very difficult. But once you push that out of your way, and you start controlling your own controllables and let everything else go, life becomes a little bit more simpler.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I think as a leader, you have to work on that aspect to delegate. And talking about those extra hours and the night shift and whatnot, I know, like, the director. I mean, we have different directors for our different operations department. One of them is our OTR department, and that's led by a woman. Her name is Alejandra. And I don't think she's the one who actually oversees these persons that are in the night shift, but she's the leader of that department. So to answer your question, And we have different women in charge of different operations departments right now.
Yeah, well, Colombia, what's the time difference?
Just 1 hour, like from Miami time, like Eastern time is 1 hour.
Okay,
They are 1 hour behind.
gotcha.
Yeah, that's not bad. That makes it a little bit easier to deal with as well.
Oh, definitely all the way. So I got a quick question for you. How did your background in economics, international business prepare you for the entrepreneurial journey that you are currently on?
Well, it prepared me. Well, first of all, the university where I studied,
Mhm.
I think it was a key point in my professional and entrepreneurial journey because they are so focused on entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
They like their classes, their events, and everything is towards becoming you an entrepreneur, right? So that's why I chose that university, and its name is ICESI University in Colombia, because my dad was an entrepreneur, and I wanted to follow that journey, and I knew about this university, and that was again one of the reasons why I wanted to make my career there. So that's one thing. The other thing is that my career, as its name says, is economics and international business, and we had the opportunity to focus in one of those two, and I focus on international business. Actually, I don't know anything about economics, and I'm not interested about economics at all. So I focus 100% on international business because in that area you have the opportunity to focus more or in the entrepreneurial area. So yeah, for sure it has a great impact on my desire to continue that path.
Well, speaking of that a little bit further and talking about all the women in your company and the things that you have implemented within your company, how do you feel women can develop and continue to develop their leadership skills?
Okay, so one of them, again, work on your self-confidence, really believe in the power you have. That's something that we need to do every day. So that's my very first advice, because we have, like, in our subconscious, a lot of messages from the society where we see men in leadership positions, where when we see men as presidents of countries. So we may think that we don't have that issue, but it could be in our subconscious. So we need to work on that. So that's first. Then my second advice would be make an assessment of your current situation and where you want to be in life, right? So if you are right now maybe a manager or whatever, and you want to become a C-level executive at your company or something, make that assessment and see what gaps you have, what things you think you need to learn
Yep.
or get better at in order to get promoted, and make a list and make a plan to cover those areas. And for sure, that's the way you can get dreams come true, making a plan and making this honest assessment about what I'm lacking right now that I need to work on.
That's hard
And
to
work
do.
hard and work hard for that. You need to, there are not shortcuts. Or maybe sometimes you can get lucky with a couple of things, but what we all need to do is work hard and smart, right? You need to be smart too.
Yes.
And I think it's important too to also recognize, like, I know I own my company, I'm the CEO, but I ask my COO and other people in the company, like, what are things you think I can work on? Because I feel like no one's going to want to tell me, because I own the company, but I need to know.
Yeah. Did they still have their job after they tell you?
Yes, they do. They do. Because it's, I mean, interesting enough, like recently with the growth of our business, one of the things is I work with a lot of these people here in the trenches, right? And as we get bigger, it's like I have to be more removed from it. where people don't think that I'm being biased towards certain people, or, you know, someone's getting favoritism, when realize that's not happening. It just might look that way, or how it's perceived. So that's one of the things John did mention to me, was that just recognizing more of like who I am, and like how like I am perceived by other people, and like the influence I have. So like how important it is to kind of back away and just like understand that. And I appreciated the fact that I could tell he was nervous probably to tell me, but it's like, I need the feedback too, just as a person, because things I feel I can work on, like I'm going to figure some of that out, but there's parts that I'm just not going to see or understand looking from the outside.
That's
a good point.
That is so tough when you want that self-criticism. You know, you want somebody to tell you something, and that person's like, oh man, I don't know if they're gonna like what I have to hear, what I have to say. You know, and it's just like, it's that trust though. It's like when you get to that point where people just absolutely feel that, you know, their honesty, integrity, their loyalty to the company is now being put out there. Let's hear it. And then likewise, how about myself? You know, it's just like when we have clients, I believe in sending out cards that say, hey, how am I doing? That's one of the toughest things as an owner for a company, because it's going to tell you what you think you're doing good at, you're actually not doing good at, and what you think you're doing bad at, you're really good. And it's that, it's when you get that feedback, it's so important for you to that information will help you to move your business even more forward profitably, because now you know what to focus in on. It's the same with the culture of the people who work for you, and vice versa.
And one of the things I talked about before is I had a woman leadership coach here working with all the leaders. And then, of course, my male COO, he asked to, because he wanted to learn how to better work with women. But she gave us like these few questions to even ask. What does Christy do well? What does Christy not do well? What could Christy do a little bit better? Those type of things. And I did it for him too. So I think it is important, because I'm going to give him feedback and he's going to give me feedback. And again, I'm just like, hey, you know me, you worked with me this long, because I feel like for me to grow, it's not just about me and what I think. It's, you know, we sit here and talk about all of our people and what they can do, but what about myself? You know?
That's right.
So I think
that's a great point.
Yeah. I think
it's hard when you have nobody to answer to, though. You know what I'm saying? It's hard when you have nobody to answer to. You know, it's like some of them don't want to ask their superiors, like the president or their operations manager, especially if they're subordinate. They're very, very afraid of asking those kind of things, you know, because it's just like, you have to ask me those questions. Don't you have self-confidence? You know, there's so many different things that can come out based upon the question that's being asked. You know, that's where the empathy side of yourself, you know, and you listening with intent. I mean, I think that's a huge problem in a lot of corporate environments, is that people, when they start discussing things, they don't listen with intent. That's the biggest word, intent. Are you actually listening to what's being told, and what are you hearing? You know, it's a big problem out there. It's huge.
Well, I wanted to switch gears real quick. Since you're in marketing, I wanted to ask you, like, what strategies have you implemented or put in place to build the brand awareness in your growth for the company? As you mentioned, the other people involved, ownership, you know, don't want to put themselves out there. And we talked about how important that is. And I think your company has gotten a tons of visibility just because of what you're doing and putting yourself out there. So if you can talk about that a little bit, that would be great.
Sure, Christy. Well, for like the first one that I can think of is that now is not like an innovative initiative, but it was back then. It was the LinkedIn approach. We started working on our LinkedIn strategy. It was back in 2017, 18. At that time, LinkedIn wasn't that crowded. And actually, my partners at that time didn't like that much the idea about going out there, because we were too exposed Our people were going to be too exposed on LinkedIn, but I pushed the idea, and it allowed us to have like a good presence on LinkedIn for all our initiatives after that, right? So that was the very first thing, and it takes a lot of time to build a presence in a social media platform or anywhere else. So it takes time and it takes commitment, and that was one of them. Then we also created this logistics sessions program, which is a program of a series of events uh, that was aiming to share information and knowledge in our industry, and to build a community around knowledge, right? So what we did was, back in 2018, we started hosting in-person events here in Miami. The format of those events were roundtables. So we started hosting those roundtables with a speaker, maybe a leader of a certain topic that was one of the pain points for any of our stakeholders, like most of the times for our customers. So we will have a speaker talking about a specific topic, and then we will have our customers invited to the round table, and we used to have that conversation around that topic, and also we had our networking portion after that. So with that program, we were able to tackle our customers' pain points. We were able to engage with them, and after that, we were able to shift that format of in-person events to virtual events through LinkedIn mainly. And that's why the LinkedIn piece was very important for us to start it before that, because when the pandemic hit in 2020, we were able to switch our events from in person to virtual right away. So, and we have been having those events since then. Even, like, for instance, we had a huge event in 2020. It was a summit. It was called the Logistics Industry United Against COVID-19. And we had a lot of speakers, like the Rob Estes, the CEO back then of Estes Express, Drew Wilkerson, president at that time of XPO, and other speakers in that summit. And we had a great exposure of our brand. And after that, we continue those virtual events in a shorter version. So that, and again, we are still having those events. So it has been a great initiative for us to, again, be in front of our customers, our vendors, our carriers as well, because we also invite persons from our carriers to be speakers, or to participate as registrants of the event. So that has been a great initiative.
Yeah, no, that's all great stuff. Yeah, I think some companies do those type of stuffs, but the lot bigger companies, and I think the things that you guys are putting out there is really getting your brand awareness out there, which is great.
Thank you, Christy.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
Well,
and you guys are doing that too. We did podcast. We did podcast.
Yeah, just some different ways, but it's important. It really is. It drives people to you. It drives business to you, carriers, whatever. It's all important. But
That's right.
Before we go, I want to ask you one last question. If you could give a piece of advice to the audience out there, what would that be?
A piece of advice.
Like coming
in general?
into the industry. Yeah, just coming into the industry, or if you're in the industry.
Okay, one piece of advice is to engage with associations. For me, it has been a great way for me to learn about something new, right? Either if it is marketing, or if it is the logistics industry in general. when you join associations and you interact with them, with their different initiatives, right? Like trade shows, webinars, things like that, you get a lot of things. You get knowledge, you get new friends, new contacts, a lot of things. I'm part of the TMSA, as you were mentioning at the beginning, Christy, and that was my very first approach when I was creating our marketing department, because at that time I didn't have a clue about marketing. So that was my first step, and it has been great for me. My experience with the TMSA, and it's not only about assisting to a conference, it's about actually, like, I'm part of the board of directors. I have been joining like their committees. So again, it's a good way to interact with people and to get a sense of the industry and about the area you want to focus on, like marketing in my case. And I have been joining. I have joined the Women in Trucking, the CSEMP, like different associations, and it is really worth it.
Yeah, I agree. I appreciate you telling our listeners about going to conferences, because I agree with you. You learn so much, and new connections and potential business partners, or just people you can talk to about the industry. So I think that's great. Well, thank you all for tuning in today's episode of Storytelling Chronicles, Empowering Women into Logistics. We've had an enlightening discussion with our guest, Lina Acosta, exploring vital aspects of gender diversity inclusion within the logistics sector. Stay connected with Lina on social media for further insights and discussion. Follow her on LinkedIn at Lina Acosta, and check out GLT Logistics and goglt.com. Lastly, a big thank you to our sponsors, Freight Validate, TAFS, and Thai Software, for their unwavering support in bringing you this podcast.
Yes,
thank you, Christy and Jeff.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. I know it's very, very busy, that's for sure. And I hope that you'll come back and do this again with us.
Of course. My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you. You have a great day.
Yes.
You too.
Bye.
Until next
Bye.
time, thank you so much for joining the Storytelling Chronicles, Empowering Women into Logistics. We'll be back in the next 2 weeks where we'll have another excellent episode, of course. So with that said, enjoy the rest of your week. The Bodacious Cowboy is out. Take care now.